Hello everyone, and welcome to the first guided reading of this week. Today's book is called Prince Cinders, and it's by an author called Babette Cole. I hope you enjoy this one. Remember, read along after me, and from time to time we'll stop and look at our reading rainbow and have a chat about some questions. Prince Cinders. Prince Cinders was not much of a prince. He was small, spotty, scruffy and skinny. He had 3 big hairy brothers who were always teasing him about his looks. They spent their time going to the palace disco with princess girlfriends. They made poor Prince Cinders stay behind and clean up after them. Have a look at our reading rainbows. If I share my screen with you so that you can see the reading rainbow too. And the first one that we're going to look at today are the themes of the story. Now, this story reminds me of a different story. Does it you? See if you can answer this question. What story does this book remind you of? And if you can use our sentence starter, other stories with a similar theme are, pause the video and have a think, and then tell me your answer. Yes, it reminds me of the story of Cinderella. But in that story, Cinderella had 3 ugly stepsisters, didn't she? But they made her do all the work. Let's read on. Read after me. When his work was done, he would sit by the fire and wish that he was big and hairy like his brothers. One Saturday night, when he was washing his socks, a dirty fairy fell down the chimney. "All your wishes shall be granted," cried the fairy. Ziz, ziz, boom! Tick-tack-ta! This empty can shall be a car. Biff, bang, bong! Bo, bo, bo! To the disco you shall go. "That can't be right," said the fairy. It's a bit tiny, the car, isn't it? Toe of rat and eye of newt, your rags will turn into a suit. Crumbs, thought the fairy. I didn't mean a swimsuit. Your greatest wish I'll grant to you. You shall be big and hairy too. Prince Cinders got big and hairy, all right. Rats, said the fairy. Wrong again. But I'm sure it all wears off at midnight. Let's have another think about how this reminds us of the story of Cinderella. A dirty fairy fell down Prince Cinder's chimney and tried to make him a car, a suit, and big and hairy. What did the fairy godmother do in Cinderella? Can you remember? Pause the video and tell me. Yeah, I think she turned a pumpkin into a carriage, some rats into fine white horses, Cinderella's rags into a beautiful dress. I'm not sure this fairy's magic is quite so good. Let's see what happens next. Read after me. Prince Cinders didn't know he was a big hairy monkey, because that's the kind of spell it was. He thought he looked pretty good. So off he went to the disco. The car was too small to drive, but he made the best of it. But when he arrived at the Royal Rave-Up, he was too big to fit through the door. He decided to take the next bus home. A pretty princess was waiting at the bus stop. When's the next bus? He grunted. Luckily, midnight struck, and Prince Cinders changed back into himself. The princess thought he had saved her by frightening away the big hairy monkey. Wait, she shouted. But Prince Cinders was too shy. He even lost his trousers in the rush. Now let me see. Are there any more similarities to the story of Cinderella? Have a think and pause the video. Tell me your answers. Yes, in Cinderella it strikes midnight too, doesn't it? And things change back. But Cinderella lost a shoe. Prince Cinders lost his trousers. Let's read on. Read after me. The princess was none other than the rich and beautiful Princess Lovelypenny. She put out a proclamation to find the owner of the trousers. A proclamation's like a big announcement. Here it is. The princess, Lovely Penny, decrees that she will marry whoever fits the trousers. Lost by the prince, who saved her from being eaten by the big hairy monkey. Fitting sessions begin today. Every prince for miles around tried to force the trousers on. But they wriggled about and refused to fit any of them. I've just thought of something else that's similar to the Cinderella story. See if you've thought of it too. Pause the video and have a think and tell me. Yes, the prince in the Cinderella story travels around with the glass slipper trying to find who it fits. Princess Lovely Penny, she's traveling around with the trousers to see who they fit. Read after me. Of course, Prince Cinders' brothers all fought to get into the trousers at once. Let him try, commanded the princess, pointing at Cinders. They won't fit that little squirt, sneered his brothers. But they did. Princess Lovely Penny proposed immediately. So Prince Cinders married Princess Lovely Penny and lived in luxury, happily ever after. And Princess Lovely Penny had a word with the fairy about his big hairy brothers. Whom she turned into house fairies. And they flitted around the palace, doing the housework forever and ever. Well, I'm going to share our reading rainbow now, and I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about our whole storybook. First of all, we're going to have a think about the settings. The story doesn't take place in just one place. The setting changes as the story unfolds, as we go through the book. So the setting changes as the story unfolds because, tell me about how the setting changes in the story. Pause the video and have a think and tell me your answer. Try to start with the setting changes as the story unfolds because. The setting changes as the story unfolds because Prince Cinders goes to different places. He starts at home, but then he gets the chance to go to the palace ball. So he sets off and he arrives at the palace. Because he can't get in, he then goes to the bus stop to get home. And then the setting changes as Princess Lovely Penny travels around with the trousers trying to find Prince Cinders. I think that the setting is not the only thing that changes in this story. I think the way that characters feel in this story changes. A I'd like you to choose one of the characters and think about their feelings in different parts of the story. And then tell me how they feel. Start with the character feels. Pause the video and have a think. I chose Prince Cinders to think about. I think that Prince Cinders feels quite sad at the start of the story. He didn't have a very happy life with his big hairy brothers. I think that when Prince Cinders meets the fairy and changes into a handsome prince dressed for the party, he's quite happy. But I think at the end of the story, he's really, really happy because he has a happy ending, married to the princess and living a happy life while his brothers do all the housework instead. I'll see you tomorrow for some more guided reading.